Welcome to my show. Welcome to my channel. I guess we're just gonna talk a little bit about stuff of where we are, um, ascension, the end days, biblical times. People don't know where they are in the interdimensional scale. They don't know uh, what dimension, what timeline they are on. Um, all the timelines of ancient history have been purged, and we've come into the oneness and the wholeness of returning all roots back to the tree of life, um, rebuilding the tree of life, rebuilding Mother Earth, and realchemizing the elements and the symbols, and reversing the black magic, and removing the darkness from Mother Earth and the Divine Mother of creation, and removing the darkness, reversing black magic, and taking back the symbols, regaining the power of the numerology and the elements, four winds, four corners, four colors, reversing everything and purifying it back through the Hermetic lab of New Earth. And the Hermetic lab has always been here, but it was manipulated throughout time, and that's the part of hijacking Hermes' teachings, hijacking the key element, mercury, within the water, and manipulating creation. And so throughout time, since 2012, we've taken stuff back, because the reversal of the poles, the reversal of magnetic poles, reversal of the water, the auroras, and everything coming out of Mother Earth now in a way of, realigning with Mother Earth and Father Sky, and sacred animals, and putting the zodiac wheels back together. It's all spiritual. It's all within Hermes' lab, and that's the part where there's a level of elevation that people can't reach because they don't understand. And to reach another dimension, one must understand it within their mind, and that's the awakened mind of Buddha, where the transformation of the water, the fire, the elements, the symbols, numerology, all within oneself, transitioning out of the fall and back into heaven on earth, because there's a lot of stuff that people don't know, and it's because they don't do the research and haven't gone down into wanting to understand what it truly is. Because the people who think they are ascending, they don't understand that they need to learn how to build a rainbow. They don't understand that they need to learn their symbols in numerology and regain things that were taken from you throughout time, and which left you outside of the wall, outside of the circle, outside of understanding. And it's the only way to come back within of transmutation from the lower realms back into the higher realms. People say, that they feel the frequencies of the higher realms, but they're not able to comprehend what it is. And there are people there are some good channels and there are some bad channels. I keep an eye out on what the truth is, because a lot of people are talking about Mary Magdalena, and they're talking about the Rose Cross, and they're talking about dragons and divine feminine, but it comes down to alchemy, and it comes down to creating and recreating a child, a baby, bringing forth the perfect balance of the alchemy to create the perfect child. Because no one knows who they are, where they come from. They don't remember they're coming through the porthole from heaven, being born in the mama's belly, coming into this realm. And it's the spiritual side of stuff. And so we growing up and ascending into this time, people with the chakras and stuff, they don't understand, because they haven't gone within to understand how you are created, how a rainbow is created. And if you have a rainbow within you, and Mother Earth has a rainbow, then you're not connected to Mother Earth. People say that they are, but Mother Earth is not where she was. People say that she's conscious. Yeah, she has a soul. But it's the people just say stuff because they don't know who she is. They don't know where she is. They don't know the frequencies, because all the frequencies of ancient history that have resided on her before you were born, it's an energy that can't be comprehended even when you're talking about certain timelines. Speaking on certain timelines, but can't understand it and pull it forth into today because they were all corrupted. So the understanding of the kundalinis and the symbolism of the sun in the water and everything that is within the mama's belly of transformation is being reborn and regenerated through the mercury, the salt, and the sulfur, and the mercury of transforming into the sun in the mama's belly. But everything is within spirit, and people don't know the spirit because it's been dark. It's been nothing but dark ever since they, slaughtered Native Americans and whatever else tribe, So there's no codes. People don't have the codes, the divine alchemical codes to understanding how to create a rainbow within the Hermetic lab of Mother Earth, of New Earth. Because you got to reclaim your symbols. You got to reclaim, and you got to study and understand stuff, like colors, frequencies. Because you've heard of frequencies, because you've heard of, stuff, snowflakes and symbols and vibrations, but people are missing the wisdom of what comes next, and that's the frequencies of creating a rainbow out of the water. Everyone's running, you got the violet flame of transformation, and you got the rose crux, and you got the emerald heart. See, when it comes to colors, it's just like painting. And painting, you gotta have the water. And that's where people don't understand that the water is everywhere. It's within your chakras. It goes up and down. It's within your blood. It's within, but when people look at their chakras, they only look at, you know, the throat chakra being blue or whatever, the water and the mind and so forth. But the water is as above, so below within oneself. And going into the mindset of thinking into the invisible realms, people only have the consciousness of saying they know about chakras and the auroras, or their own auras. And so you're told about the chakras. You're told about Buddha. This stuff has been out there for a long time. So if you're just learning about it, you're the one that's new to it. It's not that, it's new. It's been around for thousands of years. But you being new to a new age, spiritual movement, not understanding Buddha, not understanding any timeline, because it's all in a different language, and all you're doing is picking up on, the chakras, and meditation and stuff like this, where what does it all mean if one's not attempting to get into the awakened Buddha? Because the awakened Buddha is understanding, is going within while awake. It's not sitting in the corner meditating. Because people, if you're an alchemist, if you're a numerologist, if you're an astrologer, whatever, you would be studying something. You'd have to study something to understand what is taking place and what magic is and what all the universal codes are. So you're coming back into your belly and you have the transformation, from the lower realms to the higher realms within the mama's belly. But it's within the symbols that were hijacked. And that's the part of where, they talk about Osiris and, him being scattered around the world. But it's, in reality, it's the symbols. Because everything from ancient history is a fairy tale and a story. And people can't grasp what it is. So these times of going within isn't just meditating and whatever one thinks it is, because there's so much more to it, of purification and transformation and regaining the symbols and being an alchemist of the Hermetic lab and New Age, the Hermetic lab of New Earth, and cutting out the New Age crap of all these people who just talk about love and light, and all these people who say that they are light workers, and because they talk galactic stuff, doesn't mean that they're a light worker, doesn't mean that they are, an important person when it comes to stuff. A lot of people, a lot of false channels, a lot of false light, false idols. If, within the spiritual community today, to take people off of their path, presenting Jesus to the people as being galactic, and you got the New Jerusalem being a craft, but there's so much more, and that's people still running on this fake Jesus, fake Buddha, fake spiritual path of hearing about it but not understanding it. And it's the AI. There's so many timelines, so many different things that are taking place, um, that can't be comprehended, and the leaving the people, the AI is sneaking right up people's asses, and people don't even know. Not talking about it, not questioning it, not wanting to understand it. It just, as I have gone to do more research in more timelines and then more interdimensional stuff, I've noticed over the years that a lot of people that have I've been around um, kind of went the other direction because they're not um, researching, they're not um, putting the time in to understand what is under their feet. This is ascension, um, and the gate has been closed, and that's where a lot of people, um, like I said, they think they have the answer, but they don't know alchemy. They don't know the numerical codes of the Hermetic lab, and the frequencies. You get into the frequencies of creating stuff, creating a child, creating, um, because coming into this timeline, ever since the fall out of the tree, there have been fallen ones coming through and demons coming through in all of creation through Divine Mother's porthole being attached to humans. And so, it's them getting into the temple and getting into creation, coming through the porthole, but no one can understand it. It's too deep, and that's the part of where it's all within. If one looks over there at a demonic situation, it people, there's an understanding of how deep it really goes, and within the sacred waters and the transformation, if you're looking at what the fallen ones and Lucy and they can, whatever, dragon falling, and it's a frequency. It's the frequency of the red. The red. When the Big Bang happened, it wasn't happy-go-lucky thing of creation. It was an abortion, a galactic, abortion out of heaven, and the frequencies of it was death. It's the first frequency out of the tree, and so the returning back into the tree, all of this needed to be removed, and going back into the tree and going through these energies so we can get back into the tree. And this is part of the separation, it being removed out of the universe, it being removed out of the universal waters and being put into the AI. The more one can see about all this and has comprehended it, will be in a higher frequency. And that's the part of just ignoring the energies, ignoring the situation, and just doing the same thing over and over again. The darkness is on the heart, the darkness is in the body, and it's the reflection of what is out there. And so we're coming back into the unity and the oneness, and the crown of Judah, color combinations, red, green, and gold. It's their frequencies. It's back into New Earth. So there's lion, there's lion's cage, there's crown. But beyond the crown is the rainbow. And all of this is in spirit, but it's within. Okay? It's within you, a transformation. So the violet flame, and what people piggyback on, it's nobody's fault. It's just that the spirituality was hijacked from day one, before you were born. So when you hear of ascension and the violet flame and rose crux and all this stuff, it's all been here. But like, people can't see the violet flame being connected to Christ and Jesus and purification of the blood in today's timeline, because you take the water and you take the fire. So you have the water, which is blue, and you have the fire, which is red. People know it turns purple, but people can't see that there's Mercury in there, the sun's in there, and within the Hermes lab, you have to. This is the lower. This is your belly. This is your chakras and the transformation. So you have your water and you have your fire, but there needs to be only a certain amount of fire that can go in the lab of transformation. Because if you have too much fire, then you have this too much fire overtaking creation, and that's what the demonic ones are. Too much fire, too much power. So we have to put that to rest. So one's able to transform their waters and their sacred fire back into the violet flame, and that's a purification of the blood, and freeing the demons, freeing the ancestors out of oneself, through being re-alchemized. Not just saying that of the violet flame, but this is a re-alchemization of creation. So the people, it had to happen within creation first, before it can happen to the people. And that comes back into the balance of the masculine and the feminine, the fire and the water, recreating a child. Red Kachina, blue Kachina. Which this full moon, pink full moon, the transition of Venus, and Venus being, the aspect of the fall, and jealousy and rage and chaos and everything that came out of heaven, frequencies that do not belong in heaven. And that was the problem. What happens in heaven happens on earth. And so with the marriage in heaven was broken up, and marriages on earth break up. And as above, so below, within and without. So you're going within and you're doing the violet flame thing, of transformation, red and blue. That's just is what it is, what people are used to. But then there's another frequency of just gold and blue. And see, the gold and the blue is the emerald ray. And it's the green flame, emerald ray, Raphael, Merlin, green lion. It's green and gold. And so you have your violet flame, and then you have your green and gold, green lion at the door, emerald heart chakra. And then beyond that, this pink moon, the spiritual transformation of Mother Earth, and everyone talking about crystal children and indigo children and starseed children and light worker children. People don't understand that the DNA was corrupted, the water was corrupted. So all of these years, no one was born as a crystal child because the DNA, the symbols, needed to be fixed. Mother Earth needed to be transformed through cleaning up her elements and regenerating the rainbow and the higher colors of creation, which come back into the high heart, the pink kachina, the pink salt, Rosicrucians, the pink fire, pink ray. But people, it's just another thing that people have learned in the 3D realm, but don't know the alchemy of. They don't understand. So you're getting into the pink rose of Mary Magdalena and coming into a realm that nobody can access because it's held sacred and it's a secret. You have to come through the transformation of very high frequencies, very, very high frequencies of the violet flame and the emerald ray, and then coming into a vibration of the rose crux and the pink rose, because it is the blue kachina and the red kachina under specific frequencies to create the pink kachina, create a baby. Because when you have to have the perfect balance of the water and the fire, and having too much fire messes stuff up. And so you have the two. You have your blue flame and you have your pink flame. Blue flame, a lot of people know the blue right hand within the Mayan calendar. The hand symbolism, blue hand. But the other. So the chakras, and people know of the chakras, but they don't. Then they hear of the high heart, pink high heart, but that's in a different dimension. Pink is not a color. It's not in your frequencies, in your human realm, because no one's allowed to access. No one can access these realms. And, some may, but there are a lot who speak on stuff, but it doesn't mean that they're in it. So there's a difference there of transformation, of coming back into a timeline and understanding where you are. Because people don't know. All they know is what they see out there. And they see the shadows, they see the darkness, and they do no research into wanting to understand. And, even ask. Because I've gone through a lot of people. A lot of people, you think that they know, or you think that they want to know, but then what ends up happening is they go back to sleep. A lot of people have gone back to sleep. They don't talk about anything. They've returned back to being a fake light worker. You may share stuff about the 3D world. You may share spiritual stuff. It doesn't mean anything. You have no wisdom of the spirit, no wisdom of the underworld, no wisdom of hell, and the manipulation of creation, because that's going into the darkness, into and understanding the fallen realms. So we come back in, and we transition and we transmute everything back into our minds of overcoming this stuff and stepping into another dimension. People don't know because they're not allowed. People have too many demons, and being in the end days today, there are situations taking place where it can't really be I can explain it, but it's not going to be understood until it's seen. And that's the part of not seeing the truth, not understanding it, because it's like the whole thing with being Jewish and Christian and whatever people want to say that they are, even if it's the people who say that they are nothing. Oh, I'm not a Christian, I'm not Jewish, you don't even know who you are. That's the problem, you know. It doesn't matter. It's just about being, um, people don't want to be marked as religious. They don't want to be marked as this or that. That's their own insecurity of what other people think. It doesn't matter what other people think, you know. I don't give a shit. It's just people's opinions about stuff, and it doesn't matter. Opinion about you, opinion about me, opinion about the 3D world, an opinion about Jesus, about Mary, about religion, about whatever the hell they think they know. Because everything is just an opinion, until you come into the facts, the truth of the 3D realm, which is spirit. And spirit comes first. So if you can't understand spirit, you're not going to understand this realm. And that's where they took people. Took them down a road of not understanding who they are, where they come from. But we are ascending. We are jumping timelines, past timelines, purging, and moving into an AI realm. People don't have a clue. So, have a good day.